Thanks for joining us. We're still sorting through election 2024, trying to make sense of what happened both locally and nationally. And here to help us with that today, from a Republican perspective, is the chair of the Mass Republican Party, elected to that post in early 2023, Amy Carnevale. Amy, welcome. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
And congratulations on, given that it's Massachusetts and it was a presidential election year, which is usually tough for Republicans here. You did all right. You held your ground in the House. You picked up a Senate seat. Look, everybody and their brother has a take on what message, if any, voters in Massachusetts were sending. What's your take?
So, number one, the economy, and number two, immigration. And we really saw those two issues as interlinked. The immigration situation, particularly with the migrants here in Massachusetts, is affecting the economy. We're spending over $1 billion at the state level every year on migrants, housing them, feeding them, impacting our municipalities at the education and first responders level. So we really saw it as a message to the administration, both at the federal level and at the state level, that that they need to rethink policies on migrants and the economy.
Just in the sense of, we're unhappy with this economy, so if you're the incumbent, you're in trouble?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I think at the federal level, certainly the energy policy, we've gone from a position in the former Trump administration of energy independence to now energy reliance on other countries. And I think Americans want to get back in a position where we not only are energy independent, but energy dominant.
So there was, with regard to the presidential vote in Massachusetts, there were some amazing shifts. Fall River went red for the first time in decades. In Lawrence, the largest Latino American voting community, there were huge shifts. Is that Trump-specific, or do you think there's a trend there?
I think there's a trend there. I think that many blue-collar working Americans and working residents of Massachusetts are looking for a party that's responsive to their needs. And again, that's a party that is paying attention to the economy and also maybe more socially conservative than what we're seeing in the policies off of Beacon Hill. So if you look down in Bristol County, the South Coast, as well as you said, up in the Lawrence area, dramatic shifts towards the Republican Party, and we'll be looking to take advantage of those.
How so?
So we're looking at building with some of our state representatives, looking ahead to 2026 and running candidates who are reaching out to those voters.
Now, in the U.S. Senate race, John Deaton lost to Elizabeth Warren 60-40. But 40, that's a landslide, but 40% is a very good showing by recent standards for a Republican challenger for U.S. Senate. And he did it in the face of a lot of backlash within your own party. Your predecessor, Jim Lyons, and his wing branded Deaton as a rhino and urged Republicans not to vote for him, yet he did okay. How did he overcome that rhino stuff?
So the message that John talked about, and I think that I talked about as party chair and others in our party, was that we needed to unify behind our nominee. We needed to reach out to independent voters in order to win statewide once again. And we can't just be talking to our own base, because we know we have those voters. We need to reach out to independent voters and even some Democrats to win. And that's something that John did and that we did at the party level as well once we were past a primary. And of course, John, did have the issue of having a primary, so that that forced him to wait longer to be able to appeal statewide. He,
to some extent, we have to take a break here, but he was not a Trump fan, didn't vote for him, sort of distanced himself from Trump. Did that hurt him, help him?
I think, I think it was probably neutral. I think, certainly you could have Republicans statewide talk about the fact that they see the Trump administration as an advantage for our economic prosperity. John took the take that he did not support Donald Trump. So, I think we're still analyzing that race, but certainly getting to 40% statewide as a first-time candidate was a good show in a presidential election year. Is a good showing for a Republican.
So, Amy, question one, Auditor DiZoglio's ballot question to give her authority to audit the legislature passed by the biggest margin of any contest of the day. That effort was backed in part by Republican donations and by Republican political support. Do you think but it's facing bitter resistance now from Democratic leaders in the legislature and so forth. Do you think there's the potential for Diana DiZoglio to switch parties down the road? Is that something you'd like to see?
Certainly, we'd be open to having the auditor be part of our party. I think we're aligned with her in the Republican Party in her effort to audit the legislature, and certainly we'd welcome her as a Republican if she's interested in coming over.
Has there been any conversation about that you know of?
You know, I've had ongoing conversations with the auditor, mostly about the issue of the audit itself and what she's trying to do, and we've worked together in a number of ways to try to see that the question passed, and I look forward to continuing that conversation.
Okay, you mentioned in our first segment that the Trump's return to office could be beneficial to the Massachusetts economy. How so? And what about the potential negative impact of tariffs on trade? Foreign trade's a big part of our economy. And also, mass deportation could also be problematic, could it not?
Yeah, so I think, you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing the Trump administration excel in a number of ways and thinking about trade to benefit Massachusetts, to think about energy independence and in fact, energy dominance. And so I think those are all areas where Massachusetts can excel. Massachusetts is an innovative economy, and I think it really could flourish in a Trump administration. You know, I do think on the immigration issue and deportations, clearly the focus will be on criminal immigrants to start with, and deporting criminal immigrants. And I hope that we'll see many of our communities cooperate. I think that's yet to play itself out, but I hope that our communities will cooperate with the federal government to deport criminal immigrants. And I think that's where it'll start. The deportation will start.
You're up for re-election as party chair in the early part of the new year coming up. Are you game to keep doing this? It's been a busy 2 years, and how close do you think this is going to be?
Yeah, so it's been a busy 2 years. I've enjoyed the 2 years. It's certainly been challenging, but I've enjoyed it a lot. I think we've had some success, and I'm just starting now talking to my committee members to see what they want to see in the next 2 years, if they'd like to see me run again, or if they think that the party would be better served by having someone else at the top. So I'm having those conversations over the next several weeks, and then I'll make the decision shortly.
Do you think the outcome of the presidential election will impact this? The chairmanship race? I mean, well, you know, Jim Lyons, your predecessor, who you've clashed with, had some relationship with Trump. Could that be a factor here? I
don't think it's a factor. I mean, certainly the party in Massachusetts was supportive under the leadership of Tom Hodgson, who had an excellent relationship with of the Trump campaign. So I don't think that will be a factor.
Well, good luck to you. Yeah, thanks for being here. Come again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, that's Amy Carnevale, chair of the Mass Republican Party.